Hello, Fitchburg. Welcome to episode 4 of D1 All Stars. Just a reminder to all of you, my name is Joe Maldonado. I'm the Alder for District 1 here in Northwest Fitchburg. And the purpose of D1 All Stars is to highlight the hidden gems here in our community and share their wealth with you. So I'm really excited about our next guest. This is somebody who I don't know as well as I've known some of my previous guests. But the things that I've seen from her, I'm really impressed, and I want to bring her to your world. Darcy Luoma is an author, a consultant, a life coach, a mom, an author, and so much more. And she'll be talking to me today about some of the things that she loves about her neighborhood, about her community, as well as some of the things that she does with her business. So I'm going to let you have the floor and introduce yourself, and you can tell everybody who you are.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for your service. That is incredible that you, I don't know, I think there's probably many days that are thankless. And so I just want to start by telling you how grateful I am for your service for our community. I love Fitchburg. I moved to Madison, the Madison area in the mid 90s after I graduated from college, and basically never left. And I moved into my home in Fitchburg in 2001. I came to Madison for a job. I had a couple of different jobs I'm happy to share, but I won't bore you, until I worked for Senator Herb Kohl. I was the director of his Madison office. And so when he hired me, I think it was January of 2001, within a couple of months, I realized that it's time to stay. And so I worked for the senator for 12 years. And then when he announced he was not going to be seeking re-election, I hired a coach, a life coach, and she asked me a question, Joe, that nobody else was asking me. So my family, my colleagues, my friends, everybody was, I was in politics and government, and nonprofit and education sector. And so they were asking, are you going to work for the next U.S. Senator, for Tammy Baldwin, or go back into nonprofits, or go into teaching? And my life coach said to me, Darcy, this is a transition. If in 10 years you looked back and had no regrets, what would you do? And I was like, what? I can answer that? I said, I'd start my own company. I'd be a coach and a motivational speaker, and I'd help, create high performing people and teams. And then immediately all that trash talk and the Gremlins started. You don't know how to run a business. You are the primary breadwinner for a family of 4. You can't do that. And she helped me work through all of those obstacles. So my last day with Senator Kohl was January 2nd, 2013. And on January 3rd, I launched my full-time business. And I've been doing that. It hasn't been 10 years yet, but at whatever it is, 8 years, I have no regrets.
Darcy, I've got a ton of questions. So
that was way longer.
Just off of that, I've got a bunch of questions for you. So I was going to ask other questions, but I'm going to ask these questions. All right, first off, I'm a huge Bucks fan. I had Big Dog's first jersey when he got drafted. I grew up in Milwaukee, so I was super excited when that happened. I know Herb Kohl was the owner of the Bucks. Is he a big basketball fan?
He is there was no bigger basketball fan than Herb. And I always had to study enough. And I'd ask my friends who are big fans to give me the updates, so that when I would see the senator, I could talk, because I'm a fan, but nowhere near probably like you are. And he, as you may know, when he decided he would sell the Bucks, he was absolutely set and adamant that whoever bought them could not move the team out of Milwaukee. And he had a number of offers that he turned down before he found the current owners to keep the team in Milwaukee.
So are you a bigger basketball fan now than you once were?
I definitely am a bigger fan now. Yes.
Awesome. You've been down to the new stadium?
Oh, yes. It's
beautiful.
Amazing. It's beautiful.
So going off of basketball, you said a couple of things that I really struck with me. You talked about Gremlins. So I know we've all got that. I think especially if you're, a woman or if you're somebody who's from a marginalized group, there's that imposter syndrome that sets in. Did that stop you from doing other things previously in life?
Absolutely. I mean, for probably 20, 25 years, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to own a business. I wanted to write a book, and I played it safe. I did not, because I let those voices, those gremlins, control what I was thinking, and I really played it safe. So now, of course, I have all of those experiences brought me to who I am today. But I would say, because of those gremlins, there was a lot of things that I didn't do.
So what do you have regrets since you've listened to your life coach?
None.
None.
I have no regrets. I mean, it was hard, Joe. To all of a sudden jump into self-employment and to being a small business owner. There's no safety net, there's no salary, there's no health insurance. So it was scary. I had to figure that out, but
Yeah.
I have absolutely no regrets. I love what I'm doing.
Tell me a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, so my company, everything we do focuses on creating high performing people and teams. And we do that by really solving people problems, right? So people problems are when you're maybe not communicating so well, when there's conflict in your relationships, when you don't have trust on your teams. And so we do coaching, individual, executive, and team coaching. We do consulting to work with organizations to help really create and foster a culture of empathy, of diversity, of inclusion, of trust. We work, and I do a lot of keynotes and speaking, and then training and workshops. So if an organization wants to train their employees on how to have difficult conversations, or how to, everything that we do is grounded in the model that I designed, Thoughtfully Fit, that I created, Joe, because I started to notice all of my clients that were coming to me after a couple of years. I mean, hundreds of clients. I started to notice, like, they all have similar themes, like different stories, different details, different flavor, but similar themes of their obstacles, of what gets in the way. And so I spent a couple of years researching and categorizing what those themes were. And I came up with, there's 6 obstacles that get in the way. And Thoughtfully Fit is a model that outlines those 6 practices on how you can, and it comes down to basically handling yourself thoughtfully in any situation. So everything we do in my company is grounded in being thoughtfully fit.
Okay, so we got a minute left. Give me those 6 really quick.
Okay, so the 6 hurdles that get in the way. First, and it's grounded in a model of a metaphor of being physically fit, right? So strength, people would come in and say, I don't always handle myself the way I'd like to. Strength is about consciously choosing how you show up in every situation. Second hurdle that clients brought in was, oh my God, there's so much to do, I can't even think. That aligns with the practice of stillness, which is all about being able to quiet your mind. Third hurdle is endurance, and that is, I feel stuck. People come into coaching because they're stuck in a job they don't love, stuck in a relationship that's not fulfilling. And endurance is all about being able to overcome those obstacles and to embrace a growth mindset. So those 3 are internal, where we get in our own way. And then the other 3 are external, in relationship with others. So there's, I'd be fine if only you were different, right? If somebody would change, if your spouse or coworker would change, then you could be happy. That's flexibility. That's about being able to stretch to accept people for who they are, just as they are, instead of wasting energy trying to change them. And then The next one is I have relationships that don't work. That is aligned with the practice of balance. Balance is about being able to balance what you want and need with what I want and need to find that win-win in the relationship. And then the last hurdle is I react poorly when blindsided. So clients would come in and say, oh, somebody sent me an email and I hit reply all because I was defensive. And so that is the practice of agility. And agility is about being able to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting on autopilot.
Okay.
Did I do it? Did I make a minute?
A little bit over, but we're good. Okay. So I got strength, stillness, endurance, flexibility, balance, and agility.
Very good.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to talk about biking.
Yes.
But we're here with Darcy Luoma, Thoughtfully Fit CEO, Fitchburg D1 All-Stars. See you back at break. And we are back with Darcy Luoma. We were talking a little bit about the 6 pillars of being thoughtfully fit. Let's talk a little bit about fitness here in our community. So you're in Fitchburg, you're in the King James neighborhood. I remember I knocked on your door when I was running for office and I was like, I know that name. What brought you to Fitchburg and what do you love about it?
Yeah, so bought my house in Fitchburg in 2001. I was sort of young and didn't really know what I was doing. And so I wish I could say there was some compelling reason, but I was working for the senator and decided it was time to buy a house. Having said that, I have stayed in this home and in this community because we love Fitchburg. Love that I can leave my house on my bike and within a minute I can be on a bike trail going south, north, east, or west, and I can go all across the city on a bike path. Beautiful. Yes.
So balance is one of your keys. So I'm guessing you're an avid biker.
I am.
Okay,
yeah.
We got to go on the trails one day.
Oh, I would love that.
Yes. So what do
and
you
there's
love
also
about
great mountain biking trails in Fitchburg as well.
Amazing mountain biking trails.
Yep.
So what do you love specifically about your neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we love is the access to the parks, to the outdoors, that there's a community. We live in a cul-de-sac. Love my cul-de-sac and the community and the neighbors. The ability, like I said, to be able to do outdoor activities. I love that Fitchburg organizes. I mean, I've raised my daughters here, and we have done all of the egg hunts. The new Fitchburg, well, it's not new anymore, but the Fitchburg Library City Hall is beautiful. We love that. We've done a lot of, the girls went to the Verona Area International School, and so there's Chinese storytelling there. I mean, there's just, you can always have something to do in Fitchburg.
And Josie and Aiden were in the same grade. They started, back in first grade or kindergarten. And we're in the same school for like 8 years learning Mandarin.
They were, Yep. They were in the immersion school, and now they're still doing it. It's no longer immersion, but they still have Mandarin.
Taking class.
Yep.
All right. So how's her Mandarin?
I have no idea, Joe. My friends will be like, how do you help them? And I'm like, I don't. It's brilliant.
It sounds good. Yeah, it sounds like she knows what she's doing.
But they are at the age where they'll talk Chinese a little bit behind my back when knowing that I have no idea what they're saying.
I was hoping for that. So what can our community use more of? How can our community be better?
I saw your question in advance. You're so organized. You and Scott, thank you for helping me prep. And I asked my daughters, I said, what do you think? And when I asked, what do you love? We had all these ideas. And I said, what would it, be better or different? And we couldn't really think of anything. I mean, we really enjoy the community as it is and the access and to everything. I don't know. We couldn't think of anything, Joe. I've got nothing for you.
Well, that's a good thing if you can't think of anything. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey into life coaching. Tell us about what you do, kind of the organizations you work with. Like, what have you seen and experienced since you've been in this role?
Yeah, so we work with both individuals as well as teams and organizations. And I'd say when we look at the core focus of what we do is to create a safe space for people to be able to learn and grow and figure out what are their blind spots and what creates some new awareness on how they can either be a better leader, a better manager, a better team member, a better contributor to a board of directors that they're on. Because the reality is we're all human. So we all have sabotaging thoughts that can lead to actions that we later regret, right? So we're doing a lot of training and coaching on how to be able to communicate effectively, how to have difficult conversations, how to have positive conflict. We work with organizations to help them understand, and like leadership teams to understand that conflict isn't bad. It's necessary. It's an indication of something trying to happen. So instead of avoiding conflict, which incidentally usually creates more conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not having the conversations that need to be had, instead of avoiding it, how do you step in and have respectful, healthy dialogue and conflict? Those are skills that are hard for a lot of people to learn. So we're doing a range of skill drills, training, coaching, speaking, consulting around all of that.
So you were in national politics, which is probably very full of conflict. And I'm in local politics, which surprisingly doesn't have much less conflict. What have you taken from that experience that you're putting into this work?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Joe, because when I said earlier that I didn't have the courage to jump to do other things that I wanted to because of those gremlins. Honestly, all of those decades of experience that I had I was working on presidential campaigns and doing national advance and working for a nonprofit doing education reform, worked for the teachers union. All of that gave me so much insight into human dynamics and into people who and teams that aren't handling themselves thoughtfully, that I have a lifetime of knowledge, and anything that could go wrong, I've done wrong, right? I was not a good leader. I didn't know how to manage a team when I went into the senator's office and all of a sudden I'm running an office. I didn't know how to have healthy conflict. I was the first one to avoid it and just keep the peace. And all of that, really, those experiences are what I'm standing on now when I'm helping others, because I learned the hard way.
So we're going to take a break at this point. I think this is a healthy cutoff. When we get back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what that means, because, we often have a lot of that here in our community, especially over the past year. And I want to dive in a little bit deeper into that conflict. So we're here with Darcy Luoma, D1 All-Stars. We'll be back after break. D1 All-Stars, Darcy Luoma, we're back. So let's take it way back. Tell us about, baby Darcy up till now. How did you, where are you from? You said you moved to the Madison area from somewhere else. Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities area in Hastings. And when I graduated from high school, I went to Germany for a year before a gap year was a thing. That was not a thing. I went on a Rotary exchange. And came back to Wisconsin and went to Eau Claire for college. And when I graduated, my first job out of college was in Madison, and moved here and basically haven't left.
So with life coaching, the life coaches I know tend to get real intrusive. So I'm gonna get intrusive with you. a lot of times that what you do sort of comes from life and what you've experienced. What are some of the kind of pain points for you and, challenges that you've had to overcome to be thoughtfully fit?
Yeah. Well, I think I spent a couple decades dealing with all sorts of challenges that I talked about with how do you lead a team? How do you communicate effectively? How do you share a direct message without somebody shutting down? All of that. So I've always loved studying leadership, communication, emotional intelligence. I mean, I don't read novels. I read leadership. I read self-help books. So by the time I launched my business, I was, really standing on a couple of decades of deep, intense research and work on my own self with therapy and coaching. So when I launched my business in 2013, I told my husband, he was a full-time stay-at-home dad for our two young daughters. I said, I'm gonna go gonzo because I understand majority of small businesses fail within 2 years. And so I did, and I built a really successful business, which was wonderful. And then in March of 2016, I got a phone call from my neighbor asking what was going on at our house. And I said, I don't know, I'm not home. Why? And she said, well, Darcy, there's 50 police cars and a SWAT team, and they just took your husband out, him handcuffed in barefoot. And so it was the most extreme challenge I've ever dealt with. My husband was arrested for sexual assault of a minor he met online. He was taken to jail and ultimately convicted and is serving a 10-year prison sentence. And so I had to, with literally one phone call, figure out how to be a single mom, how to care for these girls, how to run a business, how to cook. I mean, John did all the grocery shopping, the cooking, the laundry, the snow blowing. It was the biggest challenge, and it created more people problems than I ever could have imagined.
Wow. So what did you learn from that experience, looking back on it?
So much. I learned so much. It's interesting because I talked about Thoughtfully Fit after I spent several years researching it. It was a Saturday, and my colleague was here, and we had all these flip charts up and Post-its, and it came to life, the model. And Monday, I hired a publicist and a strategic planning consultant to help me figure out how to put that out into the world. And 5 days later, John was arrested. And I became ground zero to test drive Thoughtfully Fit, this model. How do you handle yourself thoughtfully when there's a hurdle and a challenge and obstacle? Because I had to hire an attorney, as well as my husband having an attorney. And my attorney said, don't talk to anybody about anything. So all of a sudden, my support network, my pastor, my church, my parents, my neighbors, I couldn't talk. I had to use these strategies and practices that thankfully I had been training and practicing for a long time to help me through, this nightmare.
Wow, that's a journey right there. I usually got something to say, but I'm just, I guess what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, and you asked what did I learn through that? I mean, so much. So much. I wrote a book about it. That just came out yesterday. It was not going to be what the book was. The book was going to be Thoughtfully Fit, but not my story. And my agent said, no, I think that is the story. How did this model help you through that crisis? And if I had to say in a bottom line, I've just learned that be authentic, be transparent, say the hard conversations, pause when life gets hard to think, and then act, right? Don't act on autopilot. There's so many lessons I've learned.
Yeah, I imagine. So we're talking about personal. Let's take it up a little bit to the world. Had a rough year and a half. COVID, racial violence, unrest, and nationally, but also regionally and even locally. How do you envision us being able to heal and also being able to take on that conflict in a way that actually allows us to be able to make us better as a society, right? We have even at the city council level, we're fighting over Lacey Road and we're fighting over, youth programming, and we have a incredibly diverse community, where we want to make sure that everybody has access and a voice. What kind of lessons can we learn from diving into that conflict?
Yeah. Great question. And you're right. We've had some extreme challenges that have been unprecedented with a global pandemic and a Black Lives Matter. I mean, with everything, right? Local, state, national. And I would say, my hope, my dream is that we can have different opinions, that we can disagree, that we can honor diversity, and that we can do it in a thoughtful way. And I would say, the model is based on the metaphor being physically fit, and you can train and practice to become physically fit, and you can get stronger. In the same way, your mind is a muscle, and you can train and practice to be thoughtfully fit. And so my hope is that everybody would take that time and engage their core with the thoughtfully fit model. You pause and think and then act. So you disagree with somebody, instead of yelling back and not listening and trying to jam your opinion down their throat, you pause and you think, how do I honor their view? What do I think about their view? What can I do to help them understand I really value it? And how can then I share my view that's different in a way that they can hear it, right? So that you can then act thoughtfully. I mean, that's my vision, is that we can create a world that has really strong interpersonal skills and people that are thoughtfully fit.
I love it. I love it. And, one last thing I'll leave with, really also honoring and adding the fact that, if you have a certain level of advantage in life, whether that be gender, socioeconomic status, race, that we move out of the way and allow space, for everybody to be able to be in that circle. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation, and we'll definitely be on the bike one day. Darcy Luoma, D1 All-Stars. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Joe. Great to be here.
All right.